What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Layne and I'm a nurse and nurse practitioner student. And this video is a little bit different because I'm actually traveling to interview one of my friends named Julie, who is a Cath Lab nurse and an FNP student. And we're gonna hear about her journey and what she likes about Cath Lab and things that she's experienced as an FNP student. All right, let's get started.
So I got into nursing in more of a roundabout way than I feel that people normally get involved in nursing. I didn't know my entire life that I wanted to be a nurse. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do when I was starting to think about school. I thought about being either a pediatrician or a teacher. All I knew is that I really wanted to help people. And so thankfully my mom decided to steer me in the direction of nursing. She thought that it combined both of my interests in both medicine and education. And that's how I ended up being a nurse. So my background in nursing has been varied. I've been a nurse for about 6 years now. I started out in a med-surg unit in Baltimore where we specialized in infectious disease, and that centered a lot around IV drug use and HIV. I stayed there for about 2 years, and then I moved to an intermediate care setting. I was ready for a challenge or a new change. I felt pretty comfortable in my med-surg world. That focused on hepatology, and I was also there for 2 years. And then I moved to the Cath Lab, and I've been there since I left IMC, and I have loved it. It's been a great new experience for me, and I didn't intend to start out in the Cath Lab, but it was a great schedule, and it was a new challenge for me. So I've always looked for new challenges as I've taken steps in my career. So I wanted to do Cath Lab primarily for the schedule. I had just gotten married, and I wanted to spend time with my new husband. I hadn't really been home for many weekends since we'd gotten married when I worked on my IMC floor. So that was the original catalyst for me going into the Cath Lab. But also I had always thought about doing some sort of ICU or critical care, and this seemed like a good next step to me without compromising my free time or my personal life. So my schedule in the Cath Lab, I work 3 13-hour shifts now, but I'd previously worked 4 10-hour shifts, so my unit is very flexible. But as compared to other units, I only have to do call 1 night a week or every other night, and then 1 weekend every 2 months. And I have so much preference for that. When I worked on the floor, I worked at least 1 day of every weekend, and so this has just been a really nice balance for me for work life. So what I like most about being in the Cath Lab is the intentional time that I get to spend with my patients. Instead of having 4 or 5 patients that I'm running around to, trying to make sure all of their needs are met, I only have 1 patient now at a time, and that's been amazing because I feel like I can fully invest myself in what's going on. And I also like how much autonomy there is in the Cath Lab. It's just you and a very small team working together doing your part, and everyone knows their part so well. So that's what I love the most about it. Things that have been challenging for me though, coming to the Cath Lab, I've been there for 2 years, but I don't have an ICU background, it's pretty important being in the Cath Lab, being able to respond appropriately and effectively to critical situations because they can happen at any moment. And I just don't like feeling when I don't know everything. I always feel like I'm behind the curve a little bit. And that's just me being self-critical. I'm just always trying to learn and improve myself so I can give my patients the best care. Another problem that I run into is trying to figure out how to run the lab efficiently and safely, because we have a high volume of cases and everyone needs to get seen because they've all been having chest pain or have some procedure they're waiting for their testing for. And so just trying to get everybody done in a timely fashion while also making sure they're safe. Piece of advice for anyone who's interested in Cath Lab, I would say, is just to go for it. It's kind of a specialty area, so maybe get a year or 2 of experience first before you get interested in something more specialized. But make sure you interview and you ask to shadow to just see exactly what it is that you're doing, and make sure you ask about any supports that you'd have and what kind of education is offered. Because that's so important for any part of nursing, is just making sure you have a great team that's willing to support you in your growth. But I would recommend the Cath Lab to anyone. It's been great for both my professional and personal life. So I chose to go back to school to get my F&P degree. I think part of it is always growing up, my parents emphasized how important education was to me. So I've had a personal goal to take myself as far as I can with my education and use my talents to help others. But I chose F&P specifically because it's versatile. I'm really interested in both geriatrics and women's health and global health, and I felt that FNP could provide me with a great foundation to go into any of those pathways. I was fortunate enough to go to an online program, which has provided me so much flexibility. I've been able to work full-time and do part-time school, and we moved recently from our home, and so it's given me so much flexibility to just be wherever we are. So the hardest part about school, originally I was a full-time student for my first semester. I'm only in my second semester now, but I was doing 40 hours of work a week and call, and then I was doing 40 hours of school a week and trying to find time to spend with my family and trying to find time for self-care, and that was just so hard finding a balance. I felt like my mental health was suffering, but I have a great advisor and we talked and they switched me to part-time, and that has just been so beneficial for me in every aspect of my life. My grades are better, I get to spend more time with my family and taking care of myself and really supporting my mental health while still fully giving myself to my performance and my patients at work. So during the pandemic, my nursing looked really different from what it would have looked like if I was still on the floor. Most of our patients were outpatients, and so instead of feeling overwhelmed and burnt out, we actually had a lot of our elective cases canceled. And so we were getting sent home early, or we were taking extra days off, and because we're hourly, we weren't getting paid as much. So that was where a lot of my stress came from, although I feel both fortunate and a little bit guilty that I wasn't working right on the front lines with my peers. To help combat sort of that stress of just being more isolated than normal, we adopted 2 animals. We got a cat named Goober and a dog named Coda, and they just became such a source of happiness for me. I also really started spending more time outside, hiking, walking, just being out there, which is something great that I think we have just really moved past. Just as a society as a whole, we haven't really reconnected with being outside. We've been very introspective, I think. And I also started cooking some more. I taught myself how to make pasta, and I was making 3-course meals for my husband, and so I was just having a lot of fun with that. And so I think whether you're feeling burnt out or just kind of at a loss, you're grappling with new things, finding things that are important for you, things that bring you genuine joy, that's so few in the world, so fleeting. And I just think really latching on to things that make you happy is very important for any career, but especially nursing, where you're seeing so much trauma and suffering. One piece of advice I'd give to myself, whether that be my undergrad self or my new grad self, is learning how to take care of myself early. I feel like that's something that I've just really struggled figuring out how to do. Whether that be go to therapy. I was really experiencing some depression in college, which made it hard to interact with others. It made it hard to perform in school and in clinicals, just because of my depression and anxiety. Or finding a new hobby, something that makes me happy. Just putting myself out there and being with people and intentionally creating a community of people who support me. I think those are all just really important things about self-care, and that's just something I wish I had learned a little bit earlier than I did.
Alright guys, that's it for today's video. If you'd like to see more videos about interviews with nurses from different backgrounds, or if there's a particular type of nurse that you would like to see or you have questions about, please comment below. But don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to my channel, because there's going to be plenty of more videos coming. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.